Hello my fellow DIYers, today we're going to turn a dress shirt into a dress, and now before we start I need to warn you that there's quite a bit of math involved to turn this into this, so if you don't like the math, the only numbers I can suggest you worry about are the ones on the price tag at the store. So let's go ahead and get to it. And I found a large men's shirt from the thrift shop. First and foremost, don't see this as a shirt. Find a way to take it apart so that it's just a piece of fabric to you. So if you have pockets on your shirt, go ahead and take it off. Make sure to take your time so you don't rip a hole into it. Next, we are going to dissect the shirt to get the scraps that we need. I'm going to start off by cutting off the arms, and I'm not going to just hack it off like a butcher. I carefully cut along the seam line. This is because I don't want to waste anything. You would never know when you need that extra 1/4 of an inch, so it's better to be safe than sorry. Then I cut along the side seams to open the shirt up, and I also do the same to the collar. If you cut perfectly along the seam line for the collar, you can save this to wear as a detached collar. Now start cutting the shoulder seams open on both sides so the front is completely detached from the back. To finish off cutting the front, I'm going to cut off the bed where the buttonholes and buttons are. And you should get two pretty plain front pieces like this. Next, I went ahead and cut a straight line across where the base of the neck is. Now it's time to create the shape for the dress. So we need to do some measuring. The first measurement will be the bust. This is measured from the highest part of your bust, otherwise known as your nipple. Take the bust measurement and divide it by 4. So you're going to add seam allowances, and I sew at a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, so I doubled that number. I take the seam allowance and I add it to the bodice front to get my total width. Just so you can visually see this, I went ahead and tied the top of the bust and the bottom of the bust. Take a measurement of your bust height. Go ahead and add in seam allowances by doubling the amount. Then you can add the total up for the bust height. From the top of your shirt, you'll try to cut out 2 rectangles from those measurements. The length will be the bust height and the width is the bust width. You can discard the shoulder pieces and save the bottom later for the skirt. Take your rectangles and face them right sides together and sew up only one side. By the way, I did serge the raw edges because I'm a weirdo perfectionist. If you don't have a serger, you can use these techniques in this video to finish off the edges. For the back of the dress, we are going to add an extra 1/2 inch to the bust width for the zipper bed. This is your back bust width. We also need to measure the height of the center back. Add seam allowances to that just like we did to the other measurements. Now you have your total center back height. Take your back piece and place the front piece on top and cut across. Now some shirts have this yoke that is sewn on. You can cut it off, and if you don't have a yoke, you can skip this step. Cut out 2 rectangles with the same measurements you used for the front. Now from the bottom, measure up to the center back height and make a small mark. Now place them wrong sides together, and right on that line, you'll cut a slight curve all the way to the corner. Take your time because you don't want to curve it too much, but this creates a slight drop for the back of the dress. Otherwise, your shoulder blades won't be able to move in the dress. Now face the back and front piece right sides together and sew down the sides. For these next few parts, you'll need a dress form, or you can wear a tight tank top and have someone else do this for you. First, you'll pin the center front right in the center of the form. If you are doing this on yourself, pin it on the shirt you are wearing. Pin down the side seams, and the back you can sloppily pin it up just to keep it out of the way. Notice the little gap under the bust. Pinch that little gap and measure from the center to the point where you are pinching. Typically, the pinch point is right under the nipple. You'll also measure the width of the flap that's hanging off the boob, and then you'll double that number for the dart width. Then you're going to measure the height of the flap. It usually tapers out and end at the point right at, of course, the nipple again. By the way, you can do this on yourself, just in case you don't feel comfortable with someone groping you. Go ahead and translate all of those measurements onto the bodice. So you'll flip it to the wrong side, and the first line from the middle is the center front to nipple measurements. The next line is the dart width. You'll copy that onto the other side as well. So let's start with the right side first. Fold in between the 2 lines that you have marked. The trick is trying to match the 2 lines up, so you keep flipping it back and forth and then pin on that line. From the pin, mark where the dart height is. Now connect that point to the pin line and you'll sew right on that line. You'll end up with 2 darts, one for each side, and the darts will help contour and fit along your bust. For this look, I want a sweetheart neckline, and to do this, I just simply pinch and push the fold up and pin. I did this twice and I sew right onto it so that it would stay. Alrighty guys, I'm going to stop here before it starts freaking you all out. And when you are ready, go ahead and check out part 2 of this video. Remember, I have a lot of notes down below. Any questions you have might have already been answered. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram for DIY sneak peeks and also subscribe for more DIYs. And always rock on, awesome DIYers!